Thank you, Chairman. It's great to have the director here again, a couple times in a couple weeks. Can I just get you to answer a handful of questions here, just so I can kind of clarify for the record from my standpoint, that CBO, in fact, estimates that legislative action taken this Congress, namely the Fiscal Responsibility Act and CRs, continuing resolutions, will decrease spending compared to the May 2023 baseline by about $2.6 trillion over a decade. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
However, once CBO accounts for other factors like economic and technical changes, the true decrease in the deficit over the next decade nets out to about $1.4 trillion. Is that correct?
That's right.
CBO also projects the federal debt subject to the limit will increase from $33 trillion at the end of fiscal year 2023 to $36.8 trillion in fiscal year 2025, a $3.8 trillion increase in 2 years. Is that correct?
That's right. I have the debt held by the public in front of me, but the debt subject to limit would go up just as you said as well.
Okay, and which is a fairly significant increase in the debt. I just want to make sure that that's level set. And so the CBO also estimates that discretionary spending will total $1.734 trillion in fiscal year 24, about $144 billion more than the $1.59 trillion cap set by the FRA. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, so I want to repeat for all those out there listening that when we have the FRA, the caps that are put in place, when people say $1.59 trillion, that the discretionary spending will total $1.734 trillion in fiscal year 2024 by CBO's estimates.
That's right. And in part, there's outlays that happened this year as a result of actions in the past.
Correct. But just so that everybody understands the numbers, that's the reality. That's because spending constrained by the caps does not truly reflect total discretionary outlays in a given year, right?
That's right.
As you just alluded to. It's fair to say that the widely reported $69 billion in so-called side deals under the FRA contribute in part, not in full, because there's advanced appropriations that are another piece of that and other factors, to pushing that true discretionary spending level up beyond the statutory caps. Is that correct?
Let me just say, it would, but just, of course, the current projections don't have any future legislation. So any future legislation that implements what, you call them the side deals,
right?
That's not in here.
Right, but a $69 billion in what are being widely reported in side deals in terms of taking money from other accounts and putting them in and then spending them, that would, in fact, would not be truly reflected in those caps. Is that right?
That's right. That would be on top of the numbers that we have here.
Okay. If Congress were to strictly adhere to the caps in the FRA without using the rescissions, the side deals, the budget gimmicks, which I know are all loaded terms, to allow for spending beyond those caps, that would result in lower deficit projection, correct?
That's correct, yes.
If Congress were to pass a full-year continuing resolution under the FRA at a level of roughly $1.564 trillion with the proper wording, that would drive the deficit down even further, correct?
That's right.
CBO estimates discretionary outlays totaled $1.722 trillion in fiscal year 23, about $12 billion less than what CBO projects for fiscal year 2024. So is it fair to say that even after the passage of the FRA, CBO estimates discretionary outlays will increase year over year from fiscal year 23 to fiscal year 24?
That's right, in nominal terms, yes.
Is it correct that CBO estimates interest on the debt alone will account for about 15% of total federal spending over the next decade?
That's right.
When does CBO project that interest payments will eclipse defense spending?
So it's this year.
It's 2024 now, right?
It's 870 against 822.
And is it correct that CBO projects that interest payments on the debt will total $1 trillion in fiscal year 2026?
Yeah, that's right.
So that's what we're facing as a country. Now, I'd like to at least point out with respect to the conversation by my colleague from Texas regarding the economy, was being kind of framed in all these kind of rosy scenarios. We just saw an inflation report of 3.1% yesterday, right? Which was higher than had been at least projected or hoped for.
Yep, that's right. Inflation came in a little hotter than people expected.
And in your all's own estimates, right? In calendar year 23, the economy did grow faster than 22, but as you guys are projecting, you project it to slow in 2024 amid increased unemployment and lower inflation. Is that correct?
That's right.
So it's not all necessarily, I would just posit for the record, you don't need to respond to this, all roses. We've got issues we've got to deal with. We have inflation that is piling up on the American families. That inflation continues. And when there's projections, as I believe CBO has, in light of some of those reports about the slowing of the economy, with the possibility of juicing it with interest rate cuts, What is that going to mean with respect to inflation? These are the complex environments that we're operating in right now, and we've got to be mindful of that in all of our policies. If we continue to spend money we don't have, inflation is going to continue to get worse. I yield back.